19 News, your breaking news leader, starts now with a breaking news alert.
A tragedy on the city's west side. 5 people shot inside a Cleveland home, and we just learned 3 of those victims have died. Michelle Nix is live at a very active scene. And Michelle, the police chief just told you that the suspect is in custody, right?
Yes, good evening, Jeff. In fact, the police chief said that one man is in custody. He called him the suspect. He wants to reassure the community that they are not in danger. He said this was an isolated incident. They are calling it a domestic at this time. Shooting 5 people inside of this home. They believe that one person shot 5 people inside of the home. The chief has the most recent information.
Several cars responded to this location, made entry into the home, and indeed cleared it and found that there were 5 people that were shot, 3 of which were deceased and 2 of which received gunshot wounds. Those 2 individuals were transported by EMS to the hospital, where they're currently listed in critical condition.
Now, obviously, we don't know the ages or names of the victims at this time. As he said, 3 people are dead. 5 total shot. 2 are in critical condition at the hospital. We are trying to learn more information. One man that was standing out here by the crime scene tape, I asked him if he knew the family. He had tears in his eyes, and he said, "That's my family." He obviously did not want to talk. He was too distraught. But the council person was out here. The president of council was out here, along with Chief Drummond and the safety services director, just wanting to make sure that there's some sense of calm in this neighborhood tonight after this terrible tragedy that happened here. Reporting live in Cleveland, Michelle Nix, 19 News.